The changes in the education sector, the way we assess students, the rise of digitalization and artificial intelligence, the changes in the learning environment, and many other unusual and controversial questions. We will be examining them one after the other in this channel. My name is Daniel Wiśniewski, and this is Education Chatter. Welcome to Education Charter, an independent space that we discuss education because education changes lives. My name is Daniel Wiśniewski. I'm your host, and today we have a very special guest with Lidija coming from Croatia. Lidija Kralj, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Please mistake me if I'm wrong. Lidija has been a teacher, a mathematics teacher for 26 years, and now she's a consultant and an expert on the use of artificial intelligence in education, in teaching and learning. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation, Lidija.
Thank you for the invitation, Daniel, and nice to be here today.
Thank you, Lidija. Well, before we actually start, Lidija, I remember that you told me that indeed you were a teacher of math. What sparked your interest in artificial intelligence? Why did you choose this topic?
I like to describe myself as a lifelong learner. So I'm always curious. I like to learn new things, try new stuff. But having a background in math, it actually drives you directly to the artificial intelligence because the background of AI is probability theory and lots of mathematics.
Yeah, I hear about it, well, I do enjoy math. I really like numbers. I wasn't a very good math student, I'm afraid, but AI is like AI and big data and everything of this kind. For me, it's like black magic. So I hope that, with today's talk, we can actually try to uncover some of this and I can, discover how all those magicians can actually use this data in order to enhance learning. So we start with a background question here. First of all, we remember the COVID-19, and the COVID-19, among all those horrible things that brought us also an opportunity for a digital revolution among the teachers especially. So the teachers suddenly were forced to use digital tools, even if they were not used to it. In some countries, they were better prepared, in others, less. But in general, we benefited from this horrible situation to enhance the skills of the teachers with respect to digital tools. How do you think are actually the skills of the teachers with respect to AI? Do you think that an average teacher actually knows how to use it or have any idea about it or any application that we could actually think of? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the revolution with the AI intensively started at the beginning this year and some part of the last year. And I think they put a lot of promises saying that it will unburden teachers, solve all the problems. But who actually do this? Is this just a marketing approach, or they really have some teacher in teams that could support such a promotion of the AI abilities? What I hear and what I see is the teacher, I think, feel a fear of missing out because something big is happening in the world, and we, of course, would like to be part of it. So maybe we are trying and jumping in the deep water, and teachers are forced to do some prompt engineering, which sounds very complicated, very mathematical engineering stuff, which maybe not be useful at all. Also, with all those fuss and intense stress, I would say teachers are maybe enchanted with the technology, as you said, magical things happening, we don't know what, and we just accept it as, wow, this is good, positive magic. But we should apply very thick layer of critical thinking and assessment before believing in that magic. So let's use some common sense with that magical word.
But then can you give me an example of the use of AI that can actually be useful for the teachers? Do you have any knowledge about this? Like, I don't know, some teachers may use it for administrative stuff, or they can use it for communication with parents. How can actually AI be used in teaching?
What I see examples, as I'm not teaching right now, so teachers use it to create lesson plans. They're using to create some learning resources, some provocative questions for discussion, but they are also using it for grading, for assessment, for some administrative tasks, as you said, maybe a roster for the subject or a seating in the classroom. So yes, there are several examples which are already available. I'm not sure what is the quality of the results you get from it, but also the quality of the data you are sharing with the system.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, this is like at this point we are experimenting with it, and we're experimenting sort of step by step, with some small steps being taken, and well, trying it out how this could actually work. Is that correct?
I would disagree with you because the steps teachers are taking are not small. That's what
Okay.
worrying me
What are the
because
big steps then?
yeah, we are in the phase of experimenting. We don't have any evidence saying that AI is good for use in education. We don't have any evidence, honestly speaking. All the research that have been done a very small scale with the one subject, one classroom, so very, very small scale, and more like a case study than a real research. So
Right.
teachers
There's
are
no
trying
comparative
on
studies.
their, sorry?
There are no comparative studies then about this. And
Yes,
it's all
very,
case
very
studies.
low.
But what do
So
they what this research speaks about then? What you know, what could be the benefits of it?
everybody's saying AI will unburden teachers. But what I say is, did they ask the teacher which part of the burden take out of the
Mm,
teacher? Everybody talking about the administration, reports, but I'm not still very sure about that or very persuaded.
mhm,
And teachers are actually left on their own, trying things without guidance, without proper information what is happening in the background. You mentioned data several times. We
mhm,
don't know what is going on in the background. And also maybe they are not intentionally but putting their students into risky environment. We
mhm,
know for sure that AI is already used to generate it talks to groom younger children. So
mhm.
intentionally used to do the harm.
Right, right. But then you see, if we are doing like small steps, like preparing kind of educational materials with the use of, I don't know, the chat GPT or stuff like this, that's to me is not really working on students. It's rather a preparatory tool for the teacher, isn't it? So I think that there's two different kinds that we can actually use this. One thing is the preparation of the class, that the teacher does it or does it herself or himself, and the other is actually using data that we collect, let's say a learning achievement of students, and kind of storing it. Do you know anything about this? Do you know how, what kind of, you mentioned here already that some of the um, artificial intelligence is being used for the preparation of the class, but is there any artificial intelligence used also to accumulate data about learning outcomes of students?
Not intentionally to accumulate, but as you said, monitoring achievement and the progress of the
And do you know how
students,
it's
do the
done?
personalization. Sorry?
Do you know how it's done?
We have examples in the EU. In France, there was which I know, 6 examples of the AI apps developed for teaching mathematics and French language. It were developed as a part of French Alliance for Artificial Intelligence. So, in the partnership with the university, with the schools, with the teachers, with the expert, with the edtech. So there are examples of that, but this is not ChatGPT. You know, the ChatGPT clearly says in their terms of use, you have to be at least 13 years old, you have to have permission from the parents, and we may use your data and all the resources you share with us for future training of the tool and for other purposes. And this is the risky part for the education.
And can you present me any kind of case study? So you mentioned here that France was using using AI in a certain way. Do you know how they did it in any way? So what did they really do? They were accumulating data about or collecting data about learning achievement of students. Were they using it to personalize the studies in any way? Also, is there something positive that could come out of it? What does such case would speak of?
The example I recently looked upon is adaptive math, developed by Evidence B in France, as I mentioned. So they are monitoring how students are solving some tasks in mathematics, exactly. So how are students, what are their results, where are the gaps in the learning, and they give them back a little bit more complex tasks to promote further development of the students, but also not to demotivate them. So this is a personalization on that level. So they are definitely collecting information about the age of the students, the subject, monitor, so all the results from the task, so activities, the time the students spent in the app, and so on, and use it. But to have such implementation, you have to follow GDPR, as you mentioned, and you have to follow national regulation specifically for education as well. So collect the data, store it within the European Union, anonymize it, not shared with the third parties. But I'm not a lawyer, so don't ask me more complex question about that. I don't know.
All right. But then also, if I can follow up on this, because it's very interesting actually, how can AI study or monitor, as you say, the learning achievement in math, and whether this data can be in any way processed to give advice to the teachers. So how is that useful for the teachers? Why do you need this data? You said that it could be used for the personalization of the learning, but how?
Well, the feedback, usually such apps have some sort of teacher dashboard, so where the teachers could see the results on a specific task and could see, for example, student A is good in tasks ABC, but not good in the task CDF, or this classroom is much better in this area of mathematics, but worse in this area. So teachers could gather information from that and decide, okay, I should dedicate it more time or focus more on that specific part. But in any case, what I think is important that teachers have option to intervene into it, because teachers know more about the students than any app could know. Teachers know about the social economical background, know how the students feel that day in the classroom. So teachers could intervene in the app and say, okay, give them lighter tasks today, they need some time to rest. Or I know I could push him a little bit more, let's try with something complicated. But any app, even they have AI in the background or not, is not good enough by itself. You always have to have interaction between the teacher and app, between the teacher and student, and between students and the students. Personalization and individualization sounds excellent, but where are the social contacts? Where are the impact of the peers, hoping for the positive impact of the peers, not just the negative one? But we know from the classroom that students sometimes have really good influence on each other. Maybe
Right.
learning together make a progress. This is the thing that app can't do. Not
Right.
yet.
I think, any kind of application or any kind of artificial intelligence can indeed analyze the data, your results, which is great for the business sake and so on. But you're right. There's a social interactions item on this. And I mean, openly speaking, it's social interactions are key. They are even, in my view, at least more important, than any kind of learning achievement here. As often I speak with different people in here and on during this program, and like the two common things that always appear when we discuss schools and education is that education has two purposes. One is how you actually socialize, how you actually find yourself in society, how you actually deal with other people, how do you perceive yourself and your place in the society. And two, the ability to teach yourself, to learn, to be able to be a lifelong learner, to actually be able to, all the time keep learning, especially that, we have all kinds of because I mean, society is changing all the time. Society is changing all the time. Well, you mentioned here that teachers experimenting at it. Do you think that they should, go deeper into it? Do you know, and also how is it really done? Is it top to bottom or bottom up? Because sometimes I visit lots of schools. And I see lots of teachers experimenting with different things. And some schools, they have more flexibility. And since they can choose their pedagogies, normally they try to experiment with things. Like they use art, or they use art to promote recycling and so on, stuff like this. How is it with the AI? Is it bottom up or top down? Who really leads it?
I would say it is bottom up because our top is too slow for the current development of the AI, what is happening. So while teachers are experimenting on their own, as you said, preparing for the lessons, collecting resources, trying to get provocative questions or reading samples and so on, this is the safe side because teachers are adults, they are expert more or less, and they know what they are doing and they are experimenting with the app, with the AI on their own. When they introduce and involve students in that environment, this is where institutions have to step up in. So before using any kind of technology with the students, first of all, this is pedagogical validation. Do we need that kind of technology? Why we are using it? And will it solve the purpose of the education? Any of the purposes, any of the aims? Is that kind of technology validated somehow? Does it follow national, institutional rules and laws? Do we know what is happening, what is doing? We mentioned data several times. Do we know something about long-term impact? Are we alienating our students with using of that technology? We know that pandemic made a strong impact in dividing us, putting a distance between all of us. With all the benefits come the negative side. So all the potential effects, positive or negative, have to be validated before using with the student. So this is my limitation. You could do on your own whatever you like, however you like, but when you put minors in that environment, you have to be aware and you have to know why are you doing it, right. What is your reasoning behind it, and how are you going to protect your students if needed. Let me just intervene before you ask the questions, because this impact of the AI reminds me of the impact of when internet was brought in education in our schools. We were all worried about the cheating, worried what information will be there, and we were slow in reacting. We know that cyberbullying is very present. We know that grooming is very present. And this is still issues we are tackling and fighting with. So I'm hoping that with AI, we will prevent some of this, or at least think about it and trying to find a solution.
Yeah, I think, it's thank you very much for this. I think it's very important to make this distinction, because what I hear from your interventions, what I understand is that there is a difference between using AI for supporting teaching by the teachers, and there is a difference with supporting learning, and especially empowering young people to use it themselves. Yeah, because of course, supporting teaching, meaning monitoring, measuring progress, as a kind of a addendum, or as a kind of a I don't know, something that can support, you know, the understanding of the progress of the student, that I think is applicable. Well, we could discuss this, and we can also discuss to what extent this is safe, who actually have access to this data, and so on. But at the same time, you know, a second question that you just kind of raised the flag about is, to what extent can we empower children and young people to use it? And also the question is, and I will be provocative here, you know, what if we don't show it to them and they will learn it on the streets? Because, you know, there's one thing that can also happen is that since this revolution is anyway taking place, if they do not have any kind of basic information about it from the school that is, you know, shaped and framed to their age and so on, they can also learn it from their peers, and that could indeed be dangerous, you know.
Absolutely.
And before I give you the floor, I give an example of social media and the fact of media literacy. It's like young people, and me myself included, when you know, when I was younger, the entire Facebook revolution started, and suddenly we were posting our private photos online, and now they are not even our property, right? And they can be used for whatever reason. And there's, I mean, most of young people just find it as a fun activity to share, you know, our private photos without even seeing, you know, the danger that is behind it. You know, and that is really my question also with respect to AI. Should we introduce children to AI? If so, to what extent? Because again, people that would support this call would say, if they are not shown in the school context, they can be shown outside of it, and then we're gonna be behind, and then they can be shown things in an improper way, and they can use it wrong. What are your thoughts on this?
The examples you mentioned are exactly those mistakes I think I hoping we are not going to repeat with the AI happening. I was never for a ban. I was always for education, for teaching, for introduction. So definitely the responsibility of us adults, of teachers, to introduce options, possibilities of the AI technology to our students, of course, on a meaningful way. But that also put a responsibility on our shoulders to teach them that AI is sometimes or very often wrong. We have our expertise, we have our knowledge from which we could say, okay, this is completely wrong. This doesn't have anything to do with the real life. This is completely fabricated. I know that AI, people like to say that AI is hallucinating, but it's actually making errors, deep errors, for which we would punish our students if they made such a mistake, or imagine some historic event that never occurred in our history. So definitely supporting teacher developing, students development, supporting development of their competencies in media literacy, disinformation, fake news, AI used for all those purposes, because AI could be used in any of the purposes you mentioned, and we already stamped on it. So create safe environment for the students, show them options, show them possibility, teach them how they could communicate with the AI system, but also be aware that on AI system there is a no human on the other side, that AI system doesn't feel anything and could create facts from nothing, from thin air, as they say. So definitely supporting students to develop competencies for the AI world, either also from a technical aspect, from a mathematical aspect, but also from a social aspect and from the aspect over learning, because we know that for a lifelong learning, most of our students will use technology broadly and intensively as we are all using it, like now.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I'm a digital nomad, and I need to learn every single part of it before I actually can use it. Um, and that's, it's part of my character. I'm still, I'm still in in the age that I remember the world without internet, and at least my childhood was without internet and even without mobile phones and smartphones and stuff. So I needed to learn it all. But fortunately enough, I kind of got it when I was mature enough to understand what are also the risks of it. Because of course, again, there's lots of opportunities. We can use it beautifully to enhance learning and so on. You can use the internet to learn things, but many studies, in fact, show that internet has a negative impact on on our attention, on our learning outcomes, and so on. Aren't you afraid also that AI could lead to this? It's like, can really AI be used in a meaningful way? Or is it going to be like an internet 2.0, where yes, these are opportunities, but at the same time, normally young people, because, well, they have to mature, they have to learn, they have to grow up and so on, they might not be yet like ready to use it. And they can use it wrongly.
Also, we should be cautious about outsourcing things or activities or the skills to the AI, either from a perspective of a student and perspective of a teacher. Do we want our students to be able to write essays to solve complex tasks, or we would like them to just put those inputs into AI system and get the answer without really knowing the process and the thinking which is behind. That also steer us from the factual learning to more complex levels of the learning. So more problem solving than 2 plus 2 equals 4. From teaching perspective, we mentioned several examples, but do we really need to outsource those teaching tasks to the AI? Are we making some harm to our students? For example, automated feedback. I've seen examples, teacher asking, okay, AI system, please grade this. Please write me reference letter for the students. Please write me feedback for students with special needs. Please. Okay, but where is our standing there? Are we intentionally de-skilling ourselves? Enfeeblement. So making our expertise not count anymore because we are outsourcing, we're telling AI to do that instead of us, for students and for teachers.
I think, this is a very interesting question, because it's true that by automatizing things, certain skills will be lost. Our skills to grade because I mean we are those kind of beings that we always search for cutting time, especially that we are always so busy. And of course, if there would be a machine that could grade children, that could see their potential and their, let's say, learning outcome and results, it would make our life easier. But it's true, there's a humane aspect of it. And of course, this indeed, may even lead to, as you say, this killing of teachers in the name of saving their time. Now, in one
Let me
yeah,
connect with your comment. You mentioned cutting time. So this interview could be done by the AI. I could put your questions to the AI system, generate answers, get some voiceover, some video. So everything could be done with the AI. But I dedicated time to this. You dedicated time to this because this deserves our time. So we are not cutting time on those things. The same with the work with our students. We shouldn't cut the time because our students deserves our attention, our time, our personal feedback, not the things generated by the AI. You see, you got my answers, not the AI answers.
that is a statement. That is a statement of yours, saying we should not cut the time with our students. We should not cut the time spent on their learning achievement. I think that's this will be the ending clause of this chat today. But I will repeat it because I still have more questions, I'm afraid. You know, in one of my previous interventions and previous chats that I actually run with a gentleman called Patrick Newell, we discussed, you know, the future of teaching. And he's a gentleman from Japan. He built, well, he was one of the co-founding partners of the Japan International School in Tokyo and so on. And he's also an expert on, you know, the future of education. And he told me, look, the teaching will change because there will be some parts that will become automated and others that will actually stay there. And teachers will be more, that according to him, more responsible for this social aspect of the development of children and not on, let's say, measuring them and so on. What are your thoughts on this? Can we really use AI and let the teachers to be, you know, the ones that form children as social beings rather than those that transmit knowledge and skills?
We discussed similar question on a recent UNESCO Digital Learning Week, and the question was actually which problems of a teaching and learning we would like to be solved with the AI. I said no. The question really is which problem or which part of the processes of a teaching and learning we don't want to be solved by the AI. Because with actual development of the AI, it seems that everything could be transformed and put into computer and the communication and solving this task and that task and giving feedback, giving grading, even socializing. We have virtual assistants, we have virtual friends, with so everything. So I'm not sure will the development in the future go towards that, but I would like that teachers are asked clearly, so teachers, representatives, which part of your job you would like to put to the AI, which part of the job deserves our attention, is worth our time from personal perspective, from the perspective of our students, from the perspective of the society. So definitely social parts of it. But what I see is even more potential risk in the future, because they are trying to solve teacher shortages with the use of AI. And that potentially could lead the future where the rich and developed have a human teacher, but the poor ones have only AI. So the rest of us stuck with the AI teacher. And this is not the future I would like to see.
Right, right. You see, this is also a question I wanted to bring up here. You know, I think that with an exception of 2 European countries where the shortage of teachers is not present, vast majority of EU member states are actually suffering with teacher shortage. And that's something that has been recently posted also in various reports by European Union, by Eurodice, which is the agency that supports the European Union with data. And indeed, the governments are really discussing how they can solve the shortage. Because on the one hand, the job seems to be kind of unattractive if you compare it with other jobs available on the labor market. There is a problem with attracting young teachers. There's also a problem with the retention of teachers in the profession. So they stay in the job for 5 years and suddenly they decided to leave. Well, I do not want to ask you about how would you solve it. But indeed, you see, I see a certain divergence, and I think you're pointing it out here, that on the one hand, you have the teacher's perspective that can use AI as a useful tool to monitor, to save some time and so on. But at the same time, you may have, as you said, is governmental powers or certain, let's say, decision makers that could think this is an opportunity to solve a societal problem of the shortage of teachers. And indeed, this could lead to an abuse of power, of course, because indeed, as you said, if you are in an expensive, rich, expensive private school, you will have your teachers and you will have the teachers' time. But if you are, let's say, in the public, in the rural area, maybe we can save on you. Maybe we can have just one teacher, and this one teacher will be there to, to be there in the classroom. And this classroom could be 150 students that do all kinds of platform-based learning together under the supervision of a single teacher. What are your thoughts on this?
Unfortunately, yes, I think we are going towards that, but teacher shortage are not solved by the AI. Teacher shortage are solved by giving more respect to the profession, giving more money to the education. And these are all complex problems, as we know, for the government, and education are the biggest system in every country. You have millions of students, you have thousands, tens thousands of teachers, so any solution need a lot of money, but I think it deserves, definitely, not to put everything on the AI, but to put everything on a human centric and human support in education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's hope that we won't see that sad future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, because honestly, again, it's quite scary. Imagine a world that indeed we have children in the school with a few teachers, and the children are actually in front of their computer solving things. And just in recent years, the COVID-19 has transformed the higher education system totally. There is more and more programs that are platform based, in which, with the adults, maybe it actually makes certain sense. Why? Because you can combine working, you can be a professional and a student at the same time, and so on. It's a big business for the universities as well. And with adults who are already, let's say, socialized and developed and formed and mature, it could have some benefits. But with children, I think that indeed replacing a teacher is a wrong idea. It can be supportive to teachers, but that's, as you said, it's very important that we ask the teachers of what is it that you would like to do with it. How is that supporting you as a teacher, and not the other way around? And indeed, this is I think a challenge we see. I have, let's say, we discussed a little bit about the teaching profession and how will it evolve. Do you feel that teachers are being involved in this discussion somehow? Do they have a decent place there at the table to discuss this? You see, because in my job, and I'm here on a personal level, let's say, and I do not represent anybody in this in here, but on my professional level, we have a lot of discussion about edtechs and the fact that, well, educational technologies may not share the interest of the well-being of the child, but rather the interest of a profit. And we have an entire discussion of educational technologies entering the sector, not as support, but rather as a threat. Now, what are your thoughts about that then?
Well, every business always go towards the money, finding the profits in educational context as well. I would say that teacher voice are not heard enough. In usual discussions, debates, there are some representative from the university, so maybe some educational faculties or something similar, but very rarely real teachers from primary and secondary schools, which are the mostly affected by such a edtech. As you mentioned, using platforms in higher education is less riskier than use it in a primary or secondary schools because of the age of the students, because of the learning habits and other social or environmental issue. I do hope that teacher will be more involved, that every edtech will take the responsibility of asking the teachers, getting feedback from teachers. I know this is not easy task. It's not easy to share your your product with the teachers, collect feedback. Maybe you won't be happy with the feedback teachers gave to the edtech, but this is necessity of the process. We should all be partners in that process. So technological aspect, governmental aspect, educational aspect, parent society as well. Let's hope that we all invest time in that process. Otherwise, one will be running for the money, for the profit. Teachers will try to keep their teaching, keep their job, work with more and more students, with more and more subjects and the biggest curriculums, and you know how it will
Yeah,
happen,
well, you
how it will
see,
end up.
because I mean, teachers are lovely. I mean, they are lovely people, of course. But you know, if you're a teacher and you would be said, okay, we're going to use this platform learning for children, and we will learn, you know, we will use this platform learning for children, so we will have less teachers and we can actually pay you more. So it's, you know, this profitalization of learning, especially in the school context. Yeah, I think it has, you know, it has pros and cons. Money is important, money is key, but at the same time, well, we will have to see how we can actually make it happen, you know. And indeed, you mentioned here the dialogue and discussing with each other and listening to each other. That's key, especially with respect to education, because it is the future of our children that we're playing with. And me as a parent, I'm a parent of a number of children, and I could tell you that yeah, I am quite. I have a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to using tools that I'm not sure of. I would rather keep it, you know, conservative and making sure that, you know, at least there's something I know, and I need to know as a parent what are really the pros of it. If it's really useful to do it, is it really interesting? Does it in any way involve the children? Can it really enhance their learning? Because ultimately, I mean, school is about forming individuals, forming children, forming mature human beings that are, you know their place in society, that they have the love for learning developed and so on. And I think this is, you know, that my dream school would be this, you know. And yes, we can use AI, but AI is a tool, not a holy grail in itself. I'm going to thank you for this, for this intervention. I will leave a question here for you and the viewers. I think that, you know, to sum this up, the question is, if you're a decision maker, imagine that you're a minister of education in your country. Can an AI be actually, you know, to sum up our discussion, can it be useful to enhance learning and teaching, or can it actually contribute to making us all dumber and, let's say, less knowledgeable and less skilled? And now you are a, you know, minister of education. What would you say? And this is also a question for our viewers. What do you think about this? Can we actually use AI in enhancing teaching or learning, or will it actually contribute to the opposite? You know, to the more exposure of children towards screens, towards the fact that children will not have to study certain things because it will be done automatically and as artificial intelligence. Is it actually useful for the children or not? I leave our guest with this question, so you can try to answer that. Yeah, the floor is yours. What about that?
Well, as a teacher, I would say, our dear audience, please look this recording from the beginning and find the answers. From a teacher perspective, I would say, believe in your expertise, believe in your profession, and don't waste your expertise on an engineer prompting or some tech stuff. You know that you're good in teaching.
Very good. Lidija, was a great pleasure talking to you. I have learned something today. Thank you very much for your time. I'm really excited about, you know, the next chapter that we're going to have, because this AI revolution is just starting. And I think that, as you said, the more research we will actually have, the more in deep we will go into it. We will be able also to see, you know, case by case, and once we have also comparative studies to see, you know, how this really unfolds. Because it's, you know, it's very easy to be kind of enchanted with new opportunities, but we have to do it, you know, with a clear application, and we have to know what and why we want to do this. So thanks a lot for your time. And to our viewers, thank you very much. If you like this this video, I think it was a great chat. So if you like this video, please press like, subscribe the channel, because this helps us to spread this news and this video. And I think it, you know, there are certain messages here that are very important, and many people have to hear it. So stay with us at the Education Chapter. I'm Daniel Wiśniewski, and yeah, stay tuned for the next episodes of our program. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.